is Women in the FORE, a program that we profile women that are doing extraordinary things in their lives and also doing everything possible to bring up other women and young women out there. You're with me, Ezelina Kamaliza. Today, I'll be talking to Vera Kamtukule. She works with MASP and also an author with so many other things that she's working on. Welcome to the program.
Thank you.
First of all, may you just tell us, who is Vera Kamtukule?
Yeah, that's a very interesting question. Vera Kamtukule is a woman God has favored with information that every woman has to hear. And when I say that, I mean every woman across the world, every woman and every girl across the world, because I believe that I'm a born encourager. You just have to call me and I'll say something right to make you feel better if you're feeling low.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's who I am.
Mm-hmm. How did you start out your early life? Where were you born? Where did you go to school?
Okay, I was born here at Queen Elizabeth Central Hospital in 1981. My parents were living in Zimbabwe at the time. And then when I was 9 years old, my parents separated. But I went to Mulamba Primary School from standard 1 to 6. And then from 7 to 8, I went to Manja Primary School. From there, I was selected to go to Zingwangwa Secondary School. And I did my Form 1 to Form 4. In 1998, I was disqualified in all science subjects in my MSc. Then I had to repeat, obviously. Then I went to Mr. Williams Girls Secondary School. It's in Dedza. It's an Assemblies of God private secondary school for girls. That's where I went. And from there, I went to Chancellor College. I was the only one that passed that year. So I went to Chancellor College to study my Bachelor of Arts, Humanities, so majoring in psychology and English. And I finished in 2004, December. 2005, I started work with the Center for Community Organization and Development, CCOD. And I think a year later, I did my master's from, I think, 2009, if it's not 8, finishing in 2010. That's when I by default wrote my first book, but I had not intended to write
at that time.
Yes.
What has been your driving force? Because from a young age, your parents being separated, it also has an effect on the children.
Absolutely,
it does have an effect.
And these are things that people don't want to talk about. I always argue to say, I think my life. Okay, there's a plan for everyone, and God had planned it out. He knew that I was going to go into, and I was going to be raised in a broken home and whatever. And I want to say, Guti, it's because of that. That's why maybe I am passionate about other things today, because I went through that. But I will not lie to you that it was easy. It was very tough. If I'm going to talk about later about my brother who was murdered in 2016, may his soul rest in peace. I don't think he should have turned out the way he did, because he didn't have a father figure looking out for him. So when kids grow up in a broken home, there's a lot of issues that are at play that people don't want to talk about, but it's not as easy as it is. And money is not everything. The fact that I never went to bed on an empty stomach doesn't mean that I didn't need my dad or my mom in the same room. I think ideally, kids should grow up with both their parents.
Parents. And now moving on to building your career. How has the journey been like for you to make it up to leading the Malawi Scotland partnership?
The journey has been a little bit interesting, and I will not accredit that to my skill or whatever. I think it's by the grace of God. And also I think he had sent to me people that elevated me to where I am. I think probably that's why I also say there were some women that pushed me up, and because of that I also have to do the same thing. So for example, after 2005, we finished in December 2000. I remember I finished my exams on the 24th of December that time, 2004. And then 2005, I was sitting at home, and then I got a call that they had called the University of Malawi looking for somebody with my qualifications, and then my department, the psychology department, had given them my name. They wanted somebody that had studied psychology before to work with young kids on a certain project that was funded by UNICEF. And my lecturers they recommended me, which was really amazing. So I went, and I remember meeting these two ladies that have so much impact in my life. One of them is Sikunkoma, that was to be my boss for the next 4 years, and there was another lady who also passed away, may her soul rest in peace. And it was actually not an interview, it was a discussion, just like what we're doing. Can you do this? We want this. And I remember she asked me how much I wanted. And I looked at her with a straight face, and I said, I will not accept anything less than 25,000. As far as I'm concerned, that was a lot of money. And she looked at me and said, were you at the University of Malawi? I said, oh yeah. Then why do you want 25,000? Because as far as I was concerned, that was a lot of money. And then she gave me 3 times that. Wow. And you can imagine I went crazy because I had never seen that kind of money before in my hands. But anyway, so that's how the journey started. Then my job then, I was working with young people and also with women, a lot of women on issues of housing, issues of water, and that's what influenced my writing on my master's thesis. I did the supply and demand of housing in Malawi, but specifically looking at low income housing as it relates to women, affordability issues, and all that. So I think that's where the passion to do this started. However, if we rewind a little bit to my life, I think after the divorce of my parents, I had to find a way to escape my situation. And so God has blessed me with an incredible mind. I imagine a lot of things, a lot. So I can devise a story about this room, just like that. So that's how my mind operates. So I would tell the best story. So I would go to my cousin's place, and they would like me because I would tell the best stories, and there would be, most of them will not be true, but it would be something that I had imagined myself, and I'm telling them, and they liked them, you know. So I was very popular among them. So when it was holiday, people were looking forward to having me in their homes because I told the best story. So I could think, and I wasn't writing at the time, but I would just imagine things, and I would make up stuff. I would just sit there and I would just be imagining, wander off in my mind and whatever. And even now, I think that's how things work. I'm now writing books in 24 hours. Wow. I think it's not very easy to do that, but I can do that because I write my books mentally first, and then I write it down. So it's because of the imagination that I have. Yeah.
So apart from you having the professional part of your life, and then now becoming an author that has books out, and you just recently started distributing made to blossom, made to bloom. How do you juggle these things? Because you're also married, you have kids.
Yes, absolutely.
How do you bring all these things together?
So I'm going to turn back a little bit because I think I didn't answer your question. You asked about the career. So the career started in 2005, and then I worked with Secret for 4 years, and then I joined the government. What I had wanted in my life, I had a plan that I wanted to be in the private sector before I wanted to be in the government. I wanted to be in the NGO sector and the public sector. Why? Because I wanted to have knowledge of everything. Because now when people are talking about corruption, people are talking about how government systems work, whatever, I know that because I was there, you know. So I wanted to be at that place where I'm not just one person that just knows about private sector or I'm an NGO. I know civil society. I can argue somebody with government because I was there. I know what a loose memo is. I know all that. I know how government operates. Now I worked with donor agencies, and now I'm in the international development sector, so I understand because I had this. So after I think in 2009, that's when I left Secret to join government. I worked there for 2 years, and I went to Irish Aid, the donor institution. After Irish Aid, I went to NCIC, National Construction Industry Council. I worked for another 2 years, and then I was called back by my first boss. By that time, it's Secret. They had now established a private sector company around the housing issues, around the same issues that we're doing, but now we are doing it as a private sector. So I went back. After that is when I resigned, and then a few months down the line, that's when I got the job with Malawi Scotland partnership. So if you ask me how I do all this, yes, I'm a wife, I'm married. I think this is my 12th year into marriage. We have two girls. One is aged 9, another one is aged 7. Then I'm also a writer, I'm a press team member, I'm a deaconess at church, I'm a friend, I'm a sister. And my husband is also now a pastor. We're just waiting for ordination. He's an elder though, but he is now is later. I think probably in the next year he'll also be ordained as a pastor. And so there's a lot of issues. There's a lot of hats that I wear. I have to be.
Now you're becoming my booster.
Yeah. There's a lot of hats. But I think it's a matter of balance, which is why I wrote this book.
Okay,
the professional woman achieving balance between the boardroom and the home. Because what shall profit you if you are all, and she's very good, she's a very good presenter and whatever, but your home is a wreck. I think, because they say charity begins at home. I think if you have it all together at home, it's very easy for you to have it together everywhere. If a person that is organized, they are organized in everything that they do. They will make sure that their house is organized and all that. If you look at the woman of Proverbs 31, by the way, that woman never existed. That's a prototype woman, okay? But we strive to be like her because she had it all together. Okay. If you read it very carefully, it says she was waking up early in the morning. She wasn't waking up early in the morning to go and fetch water. She was handing out her chores to her workers and all that. Meaning, however, they take your narrative. Okay, that's why usamazi zimuge kuti mwasesa chonje andi mene munaawuzira kuti asese. So ngati munaawuza kuti asesa chonje, they will do according to the best of their ability. Okay, so I will not lie to you to say kuti I cook every day or I do all this or whatever, but everything in my home works according to my agenda. Siningazi zimuge kuna utole tukuja usipa when we're supposed to eat Eugene, because I know what happens in my home, everything that happens in my, I know how many packets of sugar we eat in a month, we use in a month, and all that. You understand? I know when it's time for me to buy more uniforms for the girls and whatever. So it's just how you strike a balance, number one. Number two, it's about what's important to you. I think where we are focusing, I call it measuring on minors. When you measure on minors, usually zimaza kuvuta when the chips are down, because life happens to us, and then what you focused on is what is going to matter now. So if you swired, but neglected. So if you neglected your family because you are advancing your career ijayangoduka kumachitika tu redundancies, company agwa akujosa nchito kaya, life has happened, you can no longer work, because sometimes we work with our hands, we work with our brain or whatever. Something goes wrong, then you go back home. What are you going to go back on? So if you look at things that are very important and ensure what those ones you never compromise, you should be okay. So for me, is what's more important. Number one, it's God first. If you look at this book, I'm talking about God first. God is the one that gives you the equilibrium, because I will not sit here and lie to you that you know what, I'm skilled and whatever. No, and Queen also meant I don't do that. I don't say that. I don't ever say that. It's by the grace of God. The grace of God is sufficient to make us do the things that we do. These unexplainable things that I do. I will not lie to you. I will not sit here and lie to you. But so he gives you, so you start the day with him. He will direct you. But he's not as many sukueneka kupita. But malo enaka many sukueneka kupita. He will tell you kuti akome koko savite the time wasting. Then you just stay and focus on other things.
Well, let me cut you short there. You are watching Women in the FORE. I'm talking to Vera Kamtukule. She's sharing how she's juggling being an author, how she's leading the Malawi Scotland partnership, and also being a wife at home, and all other things that she's working on. Stay tuned as we continue with the program. Continuing with the program Women in the FORE, you're with me, Ezelina Kamaliza. Well, I'm talking to Vera Kamtukule as she continues to share her life's journey and some of her achievements in life. Coming back to one of your books, The Absalomic Loss, it's a memoir of your brother. What were the events surrounding his death? And you earlier on referred to it coming to the breaking up of your parents.
Yeah, I think you need to read the book. I brought these copies for you so you can read. But I think he wanted to go very much to South Africa, right? He wanted to follow his wife because his wife was taken away from him at least a month, if it's not two, after their wedding. So because he was staying with my mother when after the wedding, so the wife's aunt came and picked her. Good, I'm busy in South Africa, so he wanted to follow. So this was like a year or so later. No, actually 2 years after she had left, she wasn't coming. She kept telling us she's coming, but she never came. So he wanted to follow because he really loved his wife. So he was in South Africa for 2 months only when he met his fate. So they murdered him. They threw his body into a river. It was found 5 days later in a decomposed state, so much so that we had to bury the body in South Africa. So I will not go into details of the book. You need to read it. But I felt compelled to write his story because I wanted to show there were circumstances that led to the life that he led. Because sometimes you see someone also or maybe she's always depressed, or she's hyper or whatever. You don't want to understand the circumstances that led them to that. So for me, Ray was just known who didn't mischievous, but no one understood. So I wanted to tell the story. And you know what? He is my brother, but I didn't mince words in terms of his naughty behavior. I never missed those words. Paint a picture like he was an angel. I perfect a human being the way he was. And concluded to say, irrespective of everything, he still didn't deserve the death that he got. No one actually does. And the fact that if death is different. We encounter death at any point. Our Maria 2 weeks, it's different. Murder is something else because you have a lot of questions that go unanswered. And can you imagine even now as I'm speaking, he was a fantastic, handsome guy. 900 mm, would you say? Yeah. He was tall, very stout, very handsome. And I remember him in the coffin. Eyes that are black, pitch black, and all that, a decomposed state. That's how I remember him, and that picture is forever ingrained in my brain. You understand? And so I needed to write it because that was also a way of dealing with the stress, and also ensuring that my family has something that they can hold on to, after the murder. So and that's how the Absalom. So I equated it to the story of Absalom in the Bible. It was David's son. So it's like that. Yeah.
So you've quite explained how you are letting out some of the pain that you felt in life and still carrying on so well, I would say, bringing things together. How much of it is a problem for one to hold back, especially for women, because we go through so many things, and we don't really talk about these things sometimes. We want to paint a perfect picture. We take the selfies, we post them on Facebook. It's perfect.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's how everybody else is living. On social media, nobody is having a problem. And I think that's where the problem is. Because then, you see, the thing is, you can't gloss over the truth. Eventually it comes out. So even if you don't put it on social media, we are still going to know there's Alina Zamuso and all that, because it comes. Problems are like pregnancy. Yeah. Eventually it shows that you're having problems. The issue is not for you to, because I'm not saying no, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is find a way of dealing with whatever it is that is troubling you, because you pile up issues. I'm going to demonstrate with you. You push that book, you push it, then eventually it falls down. A boiling point where somebody breaks down, and they'll break down in the studio. Presenting news, and then you break down. Why? Because you didn't have avenues of doing that. But the problem with that is we don't have people who can trust, because one does a name can social media and all that, and everything. So the issue is I would rather have the issues to myself. It's very dangerous. You need to find a human being that you can trust. That's why I ensure now I have a relationship with my husband. But his intentions, I can never share with a friend, but I can share with him because I know what he's not going to repeat the same to another person. You know, those things that frustrate you, you are better off telling you this. So that's why if you don't have a good relationship with Antoine Nyomba at home, it's very difficult for you to have it all together, because that's why you'll be all macho and whatever. Your husband will be looking at you and saying, so she has no legitimacy to speak like that. But when you have a backing of your husband, my dear, there's nothing you can say that can bring me down because I know I have backing at home, you know. So we need to find avenues to take out the stress, because unfortunately our society, apart from the Chiwoza Bandaos, and how many are there? Say you know, as so we don't have avenues many and deal with depression issues, anxiety issues, stress issues, and all that. So we will use what we have. And what do we have? The people in our lives that God has blessed us with. Let's trust them and see what the thing that is about. But we need to talk about issues.
As we're winding up the program, your last words, what would you say to a young lady that wants to make it? They want to get somewhere in their life. They have dreams, but sometimes they look at their circumstances. They look at what they have been through. Mayangana Mwalira and Libe Onditandiza. How do you make it through such a situation?
Okay. Until last year when I published this book, Made to Bloom, is the tagline is Unleashing the Real Power of Women. There are some things that God placed upon my heart for 3 years, and I wanted to take them out to women. They are Tsigan. God has given you power to be everything that you can be, to bloom. You understand? However, if this was a real flower, if we plant it here, after 1 week it can never bloom. My flowers are. Why? Because it's not rooted. Okay? The issue is not what I'm going to present and disable, because women on TV and the whole country is seeing you. No. Even my woman does, they can bloom where they are, because the issue is about impact. You ask me, Kuti, who is Vera? Vera is what they call me. Vera is not me. Vera is my name. I am more than my name. You understand? So I want to tell everybody, it doesn't matter where you are. The circumstances that you're going through. That was how we went through divorce. We did this, we did this, we did that. It doesn't matter. It was preparing me to be who I am, because now I'm an encourager. I can sit here and speak to somebody. Through divorce. And I'll tell them it is possible for because I went through the same thing. The reason why God allows us to go through some circumstances is because it toughens us up. You know. So what I can tell girls that are out there to say to encourage them is to say, do you have a goal? Because I think you cannot just be swimming. You're swimming against the tide, but where are you going? Have a goal. It doesn't matter how long it's going to take, but you are going to get there.
Vera, you've just started another program that you're distributing the books to all public schools in Malawi.
Yeah.
What has moved you to do this?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I was sitting at home I don't know what I was doing, and then I get a call from a friend of mine who had this book, and she says, "Well, you know what has happened? A cousin of mine is visiting me, and she grabbed a copy of Made to Bloom, and I just discovered she started crying." And I said, "Why?" She asked her, "Why are you crying?" She said, "I wish I had read this book 5 years ago, because I wasn't going to make the same mistakes that I made, because I think she had married early and all that." And I was like, "What? That's it." We need to get this book to every girl in secondary school. Can you imagine the impact that we're going to have if we are nipping them in the bud right where they were there when they're in secondary school? Because the reality of the matter is, government can build schools, it can train teachers, deploy teachers, and buy textbooks and all that, but government cannot manage to inspire girls to stay in school. You understand? That's the gap that we need to bring in. And so I am saying we need to get to the book, to the roots. Let's get this book to all public schools. Because why public schools? Because a person that in Tonya, I think Tonya Ndimeni Abwira Motomanga, so no disrespect to Tonya. The owners are my friends, actually. So Bambino, any other private school, they can afford to buy this, because this book is sold at 5,000. The parents can afford to buy. But you can imagine a person who CDSS, whatever, they can't afford the 5,000 to buy a book. And we also don't have a culture of buying books in Malawi.
We don't read so
Talk
much.
Less of a girl in secondary school. Okay, so I decided, no, let's get this book to every girl in government, private, public secondary schools. Why? Because I think it is important. By the time they finish this school, they are fired up. They are inspired to say, I'm going to be better. I'm going to make a difference, not only in my life, but in the life of the people that are around me. I'm going to be the difference that my village requires by reading this book. And I have a lot of testimonies that I have received from people that have old and young, from people that have read this book and saying it's an inspirational book. So that's why we are doing this. So I went to the Ministry of Education to seek for permission, because I couldn't distribute it. And they gave me a go ahead, because they had to read it first, because it doesn't have to be in conflict with the education system or other issues. So they gave me a go ahead, so which is a very good thing. So, and I said, oh, where do you launch this? we launched it at Zingwangwa. Why? Because that's where I was. And it was amazing and heartbreaking to listen to some of the girls that walk every single day, 5 days a week from Jiromoni to Zingwangwa. So we distributed 650 copies there, so we are going to distribute across. And that I got, for that I got support from 2 ladies that supported the production of 1,000 copies. So I'm appealing to the public, because I have negotiated with design printers. They are the ones that print this book. They're printing this book at 400. Can you imagine? It's 144 pages, 400, and they're printing this book at 400. It's not even enough for your airtime of one day. But with 400 kwaja, you can have this book in the hands of somebody. You can change a life with the hands of somebody. And I want to say, Woody, it doesn't matter, Woody, because it's me who have started it. Look at the bigger picture. Let me picture it for you. We have young girls that are dropping out of school, okay, at the age of 15 and 16. What are they doing now? As a result, they are getting married. They cannot marry somebody who is a bank manager or a project officer at this NGO and whatever. They are marrying to Agabaza and whatever, these low-income guys out there. Now, what is happening is she's pregnant. She has 2 or 3 kids down the line and whatever. She wants to help in the home. What does she do? She goes and cuts down trees. We are stressing the already strained environment. Okay, so if you look at issues of climate change, we need to look at the cause. Girls are not staying in school, and if they don't stay in school, they are going to get married. If when they get married, what is happening? So we are overpopulated at the moment. I don't know if you saw those results. Now we are at 17 to compete with 18 million. The count is still the same. Something drastic must be done. We need to get girls to remain in school, because if a girl is in school, it means as what you are 25, 26, because by that time wapanga masters yake wapanga chanja, so andika ntayo ko chepa kusa kandi ana. All right, so as a kandi mozi awidi, and that's good. It's going to be good for the economy, because akukandi progression yabu education wise, and if you have an educated population, the country can never be the same.
Thank you so much, Vera, for coming to the program.
Thank you so much.
That's how we had it with Vera Kamtukule. She's leading MASP in Malawi and also working on her books, as well as initiatives that are supporting young women and also other older ladies out there. Thank you for watching Times Television.